Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk about sex. Sex in the Victorians. It's a kind of an interesting thing. Today, the world of, basically of sexual nature is very open. There are many different avenues, many different areas in which to learn, explore, and to identify. However, in the 19th century, at the height of the Victorian age, there was a great deal of propriety in how to protect the fairer sex. Well, that's how they referred to women in the 19th century. I wouldn't dare think of going up to a woman today and calling her the fairer sex. She might not like it. She might punch me. But nonetheless, it was a totally different world. And so, what I wanted to do was to read to you from an advertisement from a booklet that came out in 1874, and it has an advertisement for a book on sexual science. And I wanted to read some of this to you so you understand a bit of the mindset of the Victorian. You have to understand that during the Victorian age, there were brothels everywhere. But at homes, they would be putting skirts on piano legs because that was improper. So it's not the age that we kind of make it out to look to be. It's very different. So let's read a little bit of this advertisement. I have to tilt my glasses down a little bit to read it. One of the joys of maturity. And it says here, sexual science, manhood, womanhood, and their mutual interrelations. Its laws, its power, and of course its love, by Professor O.S. Fowler. Doesn't say anything else about that. But it says here that sexual science is simply a great way or mode of natural laws in which the Almighty requires the sexes to be governed in their mutual relations. A knowledge of these laws is the highest importance, and is the general ignorance of them which swells the list of disease and misery in the world, and wrecks so many lives which would otherwise be happy. And of course it goes to all the various things you need to do. And of course, since the Almighty decided how sex should take place, obviously we had to keep him happy too. But let's look at some of the things that they discuss here in this booklet. They have how to tell, and well, it tells how to promote sexual vigor, the prime duty of every man and woman. How to make the right choice of husband and wife, what persons are suited to each other. How to judge a man or a woman's sexual condition by visible signs. How young husbands should treat their brides, how to increase their love and avoid shocking them. How to avoid an improper marriage and how to avoid female ailments. How to increase the joys of wedded life and how to increase female passion. How to regulate intercourse between man and wife and how to make it how to make it helpful to both. Ignorance of this law is the cause of nearly all the woes of marriage, by the way, according to this. How to have fine and healthy children and how to transmit mental and physical qualities to the offspring. How to avoid the evils attending pregnancy and how to make childbearing healthful and desirable. And we continue, how to prevent self-abuse among the young, and how to recognize the signs of self-abuse and cure it. How intercourse out of wedlock is injurious and a warning to young men. How to restore and perpetuate female beauty, and how to promote the growth of the female bust. How to be virtuous, happy, healthy, and useful by a rigid compliance with the laws of sexual science. It goes on and on and on about the actions and sexual science, but it's kind of interesting. I just happened to pick that up and read it, and I thought it was a little funny. I wanted to share it with you. But you know, there are other things about the Victorian age and the sexual and unique norms. I believe during the 19th century, during the Victorian age, that there was a double standard. And that double standard was this, that there was on the surface of the water of the Great Lake Victorian, let's just call it that, it was very smooth, but you went below the water and you found it was pretty rough, pretty wild. And I do believe that the Victorians had some very unique sexual practices, also had some unique sexual toys. I mean, it's only natural, I guess, and they go all the way back to the dawn of time. You find stuff like that dealing all the way back to the Egyptians. But this is what I find very interesting about the Victorians. They have the label of being very pure. But I think if we really sit down and study the Victorians, we find they're nowhere as pure as we thought they were. In fact, in many ways, they're very similar to the way we are today. Now, of course, sexual science, which I read to you from 1874, that's 140 years ago, the world has changed a lot. Norms have changed a lot. And of course, probably the author of this book, if he saw today's world, would join the majority again when he came back to life. He would drop dead. But nonetheless, I wanted to share this with you, talk a little bit about the Victorian age and sex. Got to remember, sex and Victorians, they went together. That's how we got Edwardians. Always remember